Hi, good to see each and everyone again. Welcome to Rivers of Water membership class through online. I'm sure you have already watched our first video, and this is going to be our continuation. It's going to be part two. Okay, and if you have any question after watching it, please do come back to us, call us, feel free, and we'll be more than happy to guide you throughout. Okay. Um, Today we're going to go to part two, and now I would like to pass the time to Pastor Daniel to continue.
Okay, thanks, Esther. I hope you can see the screen. We're going to talk about the church constitution, and we're not going to go through every line of our constitution because it'll take way too long. And so I'm just going to give you a brief summary regarding the constitution about the major points so that you are aware about our church constitution and how it is run. So basically, Rivers of Water is registered as a church under the federal constitution. So, and we're actually registered through the National Evangelical Christian Fellowship, or NECF. And so in line with that requirement, the church must have a constitution that has been ratified by the church members. And, if you want to see the full constitution and want to read through it, by all means, it's available to anyone who wants a copy. You can get it from the church office. You just need to contact the church office and ask for a soft copy, and we'll send it to you. Okay, couple of things first about some definitions before we move forward. First is election. What's the difference between ratification and election, right? Because, I'm sure we are all quite familiar with the word election, but maybe ratification may not be so common. So I just want to explain what it means. Okay, so for election, when it comes to choosing office bearers, the candidates are nominated by the congregation and the members vote, okay, to decide on a winning candidate. And normally when we have an election, we will have at least two candidates or even more candidates vying for a particular function. And then we have a vote. And the person with the highest vote then is chosen. So that's how election works. And even for decisions, the congregation may recommend a specific decision or some item that they would like to recommend to be implemented, and then all the members vote to decide on the outcome. So that's how election works. But in our constitution, we don't use election, we use what is called ratification. What's the difference between election and ratification here? Ratification, the office bearers, okay, are chosen by consulting with the church leaders. So what happens is, normally we will ask cell group leaders to nominate candidates who they believe will be the right person to hold a particular office. And then that recommendation is actually given to the board of elders. And the board of elders then pick one person who they feel is best. And then they will recommend this candidate to the congregation. And here the congregation then ratifies the decision by either saying yes or no. So there is no election in the sense that there is no two or three candidates where you vote and choose one, because we find that that process itself is not totally consistent with the Word of God. And secondly, whenever there's a winner, there's always be a loser. And we don't want to affect the morale and the family feeling that we have in the church by putting in elections. So ratification is just one person and the church ratifies. Your members just say yes or no. If we say we don't agree, then the board of elders may recommend a second person at another date. Okay, so that's for the office bearers. And for decisions, again, is the same. Any request, recommendations comes to the board of elders, and the board of elders actually discusses, evaluates, and then decides whether a particular decision should be made. And normally for major decisions, then it's brought back to the congregation for the congregation to ratify yes or no. So that's the difference between election and ratification. So you find that in our church and in our church constitution, we always use the form of ratification, because we don't believe the church is a democracy. Church is a theocracy, and there is a difference. So it's not majority rule, it is majority agreeing, not ruling. Okay. So I'll pass the next slide over to Esther.
Okay, now we will be looking at classification of members. Okay, two type of members. We categorize them under two category. One is our ordinary members. These ordinary members are those who have been baptized and they're attending our church regularly, or maybe not regularly, but they're attending. Okay, and the second part, our second category, is the registered members. And these are the criteria. They are baptized members. They are above, at the age of 18 and above, and they should have submitted the church membership registration form, right? And then they should have also completed our church membership class, which is this video that we've been watching for part 1 and part 2 as well. And when we're looking at the difference, what are the difference between this category of members? The difference is only registered members are allowed to vote, and they are also allowed to hold any office or be in leadership of any ministry within the church. This is the difference. Okay.
Thanks,
And
yeah. Thank you, Esther. So, okay, that's quite clear. I think some of you were asking questions about why church membership, what is this, what is that. So I think what Esther has explained is quite clear. Okay, and now continuing with the board of elders. As you saw in part 1, we have the organization of the church where the main leadership is the board of elders. So the question of who actually should be in the board of elders. So basically we have one portion which is called the automatic inclusion. That means these are people who automatically become part of the board of elders. One is the lead pastor of the English congregation, who is then the chairman of the board of elders. Then we have the lead pastor of the Tamil congregation in Bukit Mertajam in our BM church, and lead pastor of our Chinese congregation in BM. So these three people are automatically members of the board of elders. Then we have the other two members who are actually ratified by the congregation. So this is a maximum of 2. Currently, our constitution allows for 5 members in the board of elders. So the first 3 is the 3 pastors that we mentioned. So the last 2 will be 2 people chosen from the English congregation, and they must be ratified by the members by a simple majority. And then you might ask, okay, what is the qualification of these 2 people? Basically, they have to be recommended by the cell group leaders, first of all. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the board of elders will then decide on who should be nominated or recommended. And then the church will then ratify. So normally, of course, we want the elders to be, people who demonstrate spiritual maturity. And most of the time, it will be people who the congregation see as leaders in the congregation. And another criteria is they cannot be paid staff of the church. Okay, so they have to be non-paid. They can be serving in the church in many different functions, but they're not paid because we want to have this combination of paid people and non-paid people as part of the eldership. Okay, and then the tenure, how long are they going to be elders? For lead pastors, they will be the lead pastors as well as board of elders members until the age of 65. And once they reach the age of 65, then they are given 2-year extensions. Again, is only by a true recommendation by the board of elders, and then again ratified by the registered members of the church. Okay, so generally at the age of 65. For the non-paid elders, the tenure is 3 years. So every time they are elected, they function in that position for 3 years. And after 3 years, either a new member is brought in as an elder, or we can recommend for them to be extended. And again, comes to ratification, and the church congregation ratifies whether this person should be extended for another 3 years. And it can go on like that for consecutive 3 years. Okay. Now pass it back to Esther.
Okay, now let's see how we look at or we choose secretary and treasurer of our church. Okay, uh, these are the choice actually. They should not be or they cannot be a paid staff of the church. Okay, they must either be a non-paid elder or a deacon in the church, and they are usually nominated by our cell leaders. Okay, and then the board of elders recommend a candidate for each position, and then those registered members, as we advised earlier, they will ratify the choice of this candidate. And their tenure is for 3 years. Our secretary and treasurer will be in tenure will there for 3 years. Okay, and then deacons, how do we appoint them? They're actually appointed by our board of elders, and their function is to support the ministry of the church overall. And there's no specific tenure for any deacons, and their appointments can be removed by our board of elders when deemed necessary. And they are not given any specific tenure, unlike for secretary and treasurers. And I pass it to Pastor Daniel.
Yeah, thanks, Esther. Good job. Now coming to grievances and issues, there will always be differences of opinions, which is good and which is normal. And there may be some disagreements that may occur from time to time. When you have more than 2 people, there will always be differences. And we believe that with a heart of love, everything can be resolved. However, sometimes, there may be issues or grievances that people feel very strongly about, and they feel it needs to be addressed. Well, the Constitution actually has something to say about that. And so basically, if there are grievances or issues, the first thing to do is to raise it with your cell group leaders, because your cell group leaders are there to be your pastoral connection anyway. And they are people who know you and have a relationship with you, and so they understand you well. So first thing is to bring it to them and ask them for their opinion or how things can be resolved. And the other option, of course, is to send the grievance or issue in writing to the secretary of our church. So then the secretary of the church will then connect that issue with the right person, and the church will respond directly to the individual or the individuals involved. So that's how we deal with grievances. And sometimes people may ask the question, what if the whole congregation doesn't agree with what the board of elders or the senior pastor is doing, and what if the leadership has taken the whole church hostage and doing whatever they want, and we have only the power to ratify, but if they don't bring any of these things to the table, how do we ratify this situation? And so, well, the Constitution also has in it a remedy when such things happen. So that the church can never be taken hostage by any individual or any group of individuals. And there is a way to remedy that. But I'm not going to go into the details of that because that'll be a bit too much for this point. But if you want to know more, sure, come and ask us or have a look at the Constitution. Okay, it is stated in the Constitution. And other thing that you should know as a member of the church is that we are required by law to have an annual general meeting every year. That's why it's annual. Okay, annual general meeting. And a couple of things that must happen at an annual general meeting is, one is to approve the budget for the financial year so that the congregation agrees with how money is going to be spent or planned to be spent for the year, and also ratification of any decisions that have been recommended by the Board of Elders. So that is done during the annual general meeting, or if in a special case, we have an extraordinary general meeting with the EGM. Now the AGM, anyone can attend the AGM, okay? So as long as you're attending Rivers of Water and you consider this your church, you are more than welcome to attend the AGM. And you're also allowed to voice your opinion or ask questions during the AGM, okay? So in that, there is no difference between a normal member or registered member. As long as you're a member of the Rivers of Water Church, you can come to the AGM, you're allowed to voice your opinions or even ask questions, okay? And the announcement of any forthcoming AGM must be announced in writing at least 2 weeks ahead of the said AGM, okay? However, at the AGM, when some decision or something needs to be ratified, then only the registered members are allowed to vote. Okay, so that's the only difference. But everyone is welcome to come to the AGM. Now you might ask, why do we need to have this kind of criteria of ordinary and registered members? Why do we do this? It's in a way to protect the church because we don't want a situation where people who have no connection with the church, who don't serve and have no true relationship within the church, turning up for an AGM and voting and changing the whole direction of the church, where politics begin to come in. And we want to avoid such situations. And that's why we have the registered members. So registered members are people who have been with the church, who are registered, who know, who have done the membership class, and so they are registered and we know them. And so it just avoids a lot of issues or doesn't give room for certain type of issues to come into the church, okay? But we can, Pastor Sam will agree with me when I say that there is no man-made system that is perfect. There's no such thing. So every system has its pros and cons. And so in our view, this is sort of the best way to go about it. So that's what we have done. Now, why would we want you to become a member? And what are the benefits of being a member? Well, firstly, when you're a member of a particular church, you have the spiritual covering that comes over the church and over you. And there's a certain level of protection and authority that comes over your life. And we consider that very, very important. And so it's very important for you to be a part of a Christian community. And also mentoring, when you're a registered member of the church, then you will be given the the time and the focus in helping you grow as a believer, right? In whatever way we can. And of course, you get to undergo all the trainings we have in church, and you get the opportunity to serve or even to lead different various ministries in the church. So it's a place where you get more opportunities to serve in the kingdom. And of course, we invite you, welcome you to be part of cell groups that we consider is the primary source of pastoral ministry, because cell group is where relationships are built, and we believe that our Christian growth comes in community. It does not come as an individual. As we work together, as we love one another, as we learn to forgive each other, as we continue to build and learn from each other, that's where real spiritual growth happens. So, you get involved in a cell group where you're in a Christian community, and you experience life in a safe, loving environment, right? And then, of course, we also offer a certain level of counseling and other helps ministry within the capacity and ability of the church. Okay, we help in whatever way we can within our expertise, our skills, our talents, and also our resources. But whatever we are able to do, we do our best to do that for our members. And of course, you're eligible, you have a baby dedication in the church or elsewhere, water baptism, premarital counseling. Of course, if you're getting married, of course, the church will be, the date will be set and you can get married in church. And then, if someone passes away, of course, the church will conduct the funerals, the wake service, and everything else that comes along with that. So those are also some of the benefits of being a member. And also, if there's any other specific function that, you would like the church to be involved based on what resources are available at that time, if we can, of course, we'll get involved in specific functions. And the other thing about being a part of the membership is that you are part of the decision-making process. So you are part of how the church is run and where it goes from here. And, if you have input, you can give input, you can be part of that life of the church, which is what we really desire for every member. And of course, being involved in the various ministry of the church in or outside the church, even going on mission trips or other outreaches that we are doing, then you have the opportunity to be part of it or even lead it. So basically, that's in a nutshell, or part 2 of our membership class. It was short and simple. So hope you enjoyed it. Thank Esther for being part of this. And so God bless you all, and we'll see you again. Take care. Bye.